1946. Inside a bombed-out building in Tokyo, a company was born. With no money, no global power, and no guarantee of survival. Today, that same company sits inside your pocket, controls what you watch, what you hear, what you feel. But here's the part no one tells you. Sony didn't just build products. They rewired human emotion. How does a company rise from the ashes of war to become the architect of entertainment, technology, and desire itself? And more importantly, what did it cost to turn imagination into an empire? Because every time you press play, every time a song hits your chest, every time a screen pulls you in, you're not just consuming technology, you're stepping into a system designed to understand you better than you understand yourself. So the real question is, did Sony change the world, or did it quietly change you? From ashes to audio to empire, Sony, the company that taught the world how to feel. This is not a story about gadgets. This is a story about control through experience. Because Sony didn't win by being the biggest. They won by being the most personal. Tokyo, 1945. The war is over, but the silence is louder than the bombs ever were. Buildings are broken, economy destroyed, hope almost gone. In the middle of that collapse, two men meet. One is an engineer, obsessed with how things work. The other, a visionary, obsessed with how people feel. They don't have capital. They don't have investors. They don't even have a clear plan. What they have is a question. What if Japan didn't just rebuild? What if it reimagined? They start small, repairing radios, fixing broken electronics left behind after war. But something feels off, because repairing the past won't build the future. And this is where Sony becomes different. They don't ask, what can we make? They ask, what will people fall in love with? That single shift changes everything, because most companies solve problems. Sony wanted to create desire, and desire is dangerous, because once you understand it, you can shape it. By the early 1950s, they take their first big risk. They don't copy Western technology. They reinvent it. Smaller, more personal, more human. And suddenly, people don't just use Sony products. They start trusting them. But here's what most people miss. Trust is not built through logic. It's built through emotion. And Sony was learning very fast that if you control emotion, you don't need to control anything else. 1950s. The world is entering a new era. Communication is no longer luxury. It's becoming identity. And Sony sees it before anyone else. They create something radical, a portable radio, not tied to your home, not controlled by space, something you can carry, something that becomes yours. At first, people laugh. Too small, too weak. It won't matter. But Sony understood something others didn't. People don't buy power, they buy freedom. And suddenly, teenagers start walking with music. Voices travel with individuals. Technology becomes intimate. This wasn't just a product. This was a shift in human behavior. And Sony realizes, if they can make technology feel personal, they can make it addictive. Then comes the next leap, the Walkman. And this is where everything changes. For the first time in history, humans could carry their own private world. You're in a crowd, but alone. You're in noise, but inside silence. Music is no longer shared. It's experienced individually, emotionally, deeply. And Sony didn't just sell a device. They sold isolation. Beautiful, controlled, chosen isolation. But every breakthrough comes with a price. Because while Sony was giving people control over their experience, they were slowly taking control of how experiences are created. And somewhere in that transition, a line was crossed, a line between innovation and influence. And by the end of this phase, Sony wasn't just a company anymore. It was becoming a force. But forces don't rise without resistance. And very soon, someone was going to notice. Someone powerful, someone threatened. And when they did, Sony wouldn't just face competition, they would face war. The world was about to ask a dangerous question. Can a company that controls how people feel be trusted? Or is that exactly what makes it unstoppable? The moment Sony stopped being interesting and started becoming dangerous, the world noticed. Because until now, Sony was playing in the shadows. Small devices, personal experiences, quiet innovation. But now, they were stepping into a battlefield dominated by giants, American giants, companies that didn't just sell products, they controlled entire industries. And suddenly, Sony wasn't just competing, they were threatening. Because Sony's philosophy was different. While others focused on scale, Sony focused on intimacy. While others built machines, Sony built feelings. And that difference terrified the competition. Because how do you fight something that doesn't just sell hardware, but rewires how people experience reality? Sony didn't grow by playing safe. They grew by thinking ahead. Sometimes too far ahead. They started experimenting with formats, with standards, with control. Because here's what they understood. The company that controls the format controls the market. And this is where the game changed. Sony wasn't just making products anymore. They were trying to decide how the world would consume media. And that's when the first real war began. The battle of formats, not visible, not loud, but brutally strategic. Because once a format wins, everything else follows. Devices, content, ecosystem. And Sony wanted all of it. They weren't chasing dominance, they were designing it. Late 1970s, Sony introduces Betamax, cleaner quality, better engineering, superior design. On paper, it was perfect, but the world didn't choose perfection. They chose convenience. Another format rises, VHS, not as elegant, not as refined, but more flexible, longer recording time, easier adoption, wider partnerships. And this is where Sony made a critical mistake. They believed, if something is better, people will choose it. But humans don't choose what's better, they choose what fits. And suddenly, Sony, the company that understood emotion, forgot it. They played like engineers in a world driven by behavior. And VHS won, not because it was superior, but because it spread faster, adapted quicker, connected wider. And Sony, for the first time, lost. The loss wasn't just technical, it was psychological. Because Sony had built its identity on being right, on being ahead, on understanding what others couldn't. But Betamax proved something brutal. Being right is not enough. And inside Sony, something shifted. Confidence turned into pressure. Innovation turned into urgency. And the question became dangerous. What if we lose again? Because losing once is a lesson, but losing twice is a pattern. And Sony couldn't afford patterns. Not now. Not when they were so close to becoming something bigger, something global. So they made a decision, a risky one, a bold one. They wouldn't just build devices anymore. They would control what goes inside them. Content, music, movies, emotion itself. And this decision would either save Sony or destroy everything they had built. Because entering content means entering power, and power always comes with consequences. Sony had learned a painful truth. Winning the product doesn't mean winning the world. So now, they were about to try something different. Control the experience, control the content, control the culture. But the moment you try to control culture, you don't just face competitors, you face the entire system, and the system does not like to be replaced. After Betamax, Sony understood something most companies never do. You don't win the future by perfecting products. You win the future by owning experiences. And experiences don't live in hardware. They live in content. So Sony made a move that shocked the world. They started buying culture, not metaphorically, literally. Music labels, movie studios, entertainment rights. Because if you control what people watch, what they hear, what they feel, you don't need to chase customers. They come to you. Sony buys Columbia Pictures, a Japanese electronics company, owning Hollywood. At the time, it felt absurd. Critics laughed. Engineers running storytelling, machines controlling movies. But Sony wasn't thinking like critics. They were thinking like architects, because now they didn't just build the screen, they controlled what appeared on it. And suddenly, the system started connecting. TVs, cameras, music, films, all feeding into each other, all reinforcing one thing. Sony wasn't a company anymore. It was becoming an ecosystem of emotion. Then came the move no one saw coming: gaming. At the time, video games were seen as toys, something temporary, something limited. Sony saw something else, an emotional machine, a system where people don't just watch, they participate. They feel control, they feel immersion, they feel ownership. And when Sony launched PlayStation, they didn't just enter gaming, they redefined it. Better graphics, stronger storytelling, deeper engagement, but more importantly, they made gaming cool, not childish, not niche, mainstream, global, personal, and suddenly, millions of people weren't just consuming Sony, they were living inside it. But here's the part most stories ignore. When you control hardware and content and experience, you don't just influence culture, you shape it. And shaping culture means deciding what people see, what they hear, what they feel, and slowly, subtly, Sony became a gatekeeper, not through force, but through design. What gets promoted, what gets funded, what gets seen. Because when a company owns the pipeline, it decides what flows through it. And this is where the line blurs between innovation and control, between creativity and curation, between freedom and direction. And the world didn't notice because everything felt beautiful, seamless, entertaining. But behind that experience was a system optimizing attention, optimizing emotion, optimizing you. And the deeper Sony went, the harder it became to separate where the experience ends and where the influence begins. By the early 2000s, Sony looked unstoppable. They had hardware, they had content, they had culture. But history has a pattern. The moment a company feels invincible, something changes, something unexpected, something disruptive. And for Sony, that disruption was already here. Small, quiet, digital. And it was about to challenge everything Sony had built. By the early 2000s, Sony had everything: devices, movies, music, games, an empire built perfectly. And then, everything started breaking, not from outside, but from a shift they didn't fully understand. Digital, because while Sony was perfecting hardware, The world was moving into software, files instead of disks, streaming instead of ownership, access instead of control. And then came a company that didn't care about legacy, didn't care about formats, didn't care about rules. They cared about simplicity. And they introduced something that looked harmless: the iPod. 1,000 songs in your pocket. A simple line, but a devastating idea. Because Sony had already built music players, better ones, stronger ones, but they were trapped inside their own system, protecting music rights, protecting formats, protecting control, and in doing so, they slowed themselves down, while Apple moved fast, clean, focused, and suddenly, Sony wasn't leading anymore. They were reacting. But the real problem wasn't Apple. It was inside Sony. Too many divisions, too many priorities, too many internal walls. Hardware versus music, music versus movies, movies versus gaming, each protecting itself instead of building together. And this is the paradox of success. The bigger you become, the harder it is to move. Sony had built an empire, but empires are heavy, slow, rigid. And for the first time, Sony wasn't ahead of the future. They were trying to catch it. Losses started appearing, confidence started cracking, and the question returned. The same question from decades ago: what if we lose again? But Sony had something rare: memory. They had lost before, and they had learned. So instead of fighting the past, they adapted to the future. They simplified, refocused, rebuilt around what mattered. PlayStation became stronger, cameras became dominant, entertainment became sharper. They stopped trying to control everything and started focusing on where they were irreplaceable: experience, emotion, immersion. And slowly, Sony didn't just survive, they stabilized, not as the loudest company, but as one of the most resilient. Today, Sony is everywhere: in your headphones, in your console, in the movies you watch, in the music you feel. But here's the deeper truth: Sony didn't win by dominating markets. They won by understanding something fundamental. Humans don't chase technology, they chase feeling. And the companies that win are the ones that understand how to deliver that feeling again and again and again. But that power comes with a question, a difficult one, a necessary one. When a company understands your emotions better than you do, who is really in control? Because every song that hits perfectly, every scene that feels too real, every game that pulls you in is not accidental. It's designed carefully, precisely, relentlessly. And the more perfect the experience becomes, the harder it is to notice where your choice ends and where the system begins. Every empire starts with an idea, a belief, a vision. But over time, that vision grows, expands, evolves, until one day it becomes something bigger than its creators ever imagined. Sony started with a question: what will people love? But somewhere along the way, that question changed into something quieter, something more powerful. What will people never want to leave? And if you look closely at the world around you, at the screens, the sounds, the stories, you might realize that question was already answered. And the next empire, the next company that will shape your reality, it's not coming. It's already here, watching, learning, waiting.